Stack the money, make it multiply. Yellow, white, gold,
What's up, everybody? We back. Episode 3, Facts Over Feelings, Season 2. I'm Bobby Champion.
I'm Chris Staples. You know what time it is. Let's get it. Stop laughing.
All right, man. Hey, so we're going to get right into it, man. We got this cool guy over here, Chris Staples, rocking the shades on him. All right, look. So, of course, everybody, James Harden has been the hot topic of the whole entire NBA. And finally, a trade has happened. The Nets have acquired James Harden. Okay. Basically, they traded Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, and a whole rack of picks. The Pacers were involved in the trade. Victor Oladipo is going to the Rockets. So it's a lot of big moves. But the biggest name out of everybody is James Harden. He's going to the Nets. So what everybody's been talking about is Chris's favorite team. All right. So what does this do for the Nets now?
Man, I mean, obviously, you got to come out the East. You got to go to the championship. There's like no way around it. It's a lot of pressure for people like James Harden, because he's had multiple teammates where he's orchestrated and controlled the narrative in Houston. Now he's going to a team where it's not about his decision anymore. It's about what Kevin Durant wants on the team. And so if he's not able to work with this group, it's going to say a lot about him as a teammate, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe as a person in the locker room. But I mean, I got to say it's a championship or going to a championship or bust. I wouldn't say necessarily losing in a championship. They just got together. James Harden, he's going to need about a month or two to get that weight down. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to say they got to go to the championship or it's a bust.
I'm on the other end. I think it's championship or bust. And in the way that today's NBA is, once you form a team like that together, like they're expected to win the first year. If they don't, you get a cushion. You could get the first year is cool. But when you look at LeBron and AD, first year, they got it done. The Celtics big three, first year, they got it done. When the Pistons traded for Rasheed Wallace, first year, they got it done. So as talented, this is probably the most talent. This is the most offensive firepower that I, in my lifetime, have ever seen on one team, right? Now, of course, you had the Warriors. That was a lot of offensive firepower, but it was different. It was a lot of picks. It was a lot of us as an entire team. But as 3 superstars all together, I have never seen this much offensive firepower, where it's like if you're on a wing and ISO, it's a bucket. Like basically, like what are you going to do? So with that said,
about that. Not to cut you off, but let me say something about that. I hear you with it's a championship or bust, but one thing that the Nets are lacking, which all these teams who had this big 3, they all had defense.
Yep.
That's the difference. Every team that has won some type of championship has all had that defense. So when you look at LeBron and AD, yes, LeBron is first team all defense. AD should have been defensive player of the year. And then they had the pieces like Caldwell Pope, who's also a great on-ball defender. So when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, they lost that. Karis LeVert is a good defender, but Jared Allen's a great rim protector. DeAndre Jordan can't do it all by himself. And so, and then like, even though KD is tall, he's been getting dunked on all season. I've been seeing this season him getting dunked on. He's 7 feet, but so I'm not saying he's a bad defender, but he's not, that upper echelon of defenders. And I think that's going to be as far as offensive firepower, I put them right up there with Golden State. Because it was a lot of pick and stuff like that, but it was great basketball being played. And Golden State also had Draymond Green, who's a great defender. Klay Thompson, who's a great on-ball defender, one of the best two-way players in the game. So they had that offense to go along with the defense, and that's what carried them over the top for so long. So that's just my thing with Brooklyn. I think they will make it to the championship, but they also got to defend at the end of the day. Right. And now I'm like, all right, now you're talking about who's going to guard Anthony Davis? All right. Now you're going to have your hands full with LeBron James, and they're going to swing the ball a lot, but someone's going to be a liability. Now, granted, they're going to score a lot of points on offense end, but they got to also come down there and defend. I don't see Anthony Davis being able to guard Kevin Durant, but I don't see Kevin Durant being able to guard Anthony Davis. And they know not to put DeAndre Jordan on Anthony Davis. So that becomes a liability.
All right. Are you done? Are you done now? Are you done?
Go ahead.
Are you done? Are you done now?
Little rant.
Are you done now? Are you done?
I'm finished.
Are you done? Listen, if the Nets do not win a championship this year, I get what you're saying. I understand. You don't think they will. That you think defense is their weakness, but that does not mean it will not be a bust. The expected goal is for them to win this year, just like when KD went to the Warriors. This year, they trying to win it. Okay. The following year, who knows what could happen, right? The way that Kyrie is on and off the court, who knows? Kevin Durant is coming off a major injury. James Harden is up 25 pounds. Do you really want to go into like, all right, now this is the year. This year is the championship or bust year. They need to make another trade. I agree. Jared Allen, losing him was huge. Like, he actually brought defense to your second unit. You already lost Spencer Dinwiddie. Now you lost Karis LeVert, right? They're still obviously a very talented team, and they should go to the championship. That's without a question. I also think with that amount of talent on that team, right? I want the Lakers to win, but if they don't get it this year, this is a bust. This is the best and most talented team.
They do. They got a great opportunity. And then they also kept Joe Harris, which is another knockdown shooter. You know, they really have the roster, man. But, you know, I'm saying just how you look at like the Clippers, just an example. People were like, okay, they got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, that they should go to the championship. Now I'm not saying they busted, but at the same time, it was kind of a bust because you lost, you lost players after that. You lost Montrezl Harrell, who was a great piece coming off the bench. So yeah, but they didn't even make it. I don't think Montrezl would have left had they made it to the championship, or had they made it to the Western Conference and then they lost to the Lakers and they lost to the Lakers. I don't think he would have left. But the fact they lost so early, blew a 3-1 lead, that was a bust. That's considered a bust. Now with Brooklyn, if they make it to the championship, I think they are, all right, cool, we got to the championship, we lost, we fell short, but we coming back next year. We coming back next year with that. I think they have a great chance to win this year, but I wouldn't necessarily go bust. I don't think they're going to go, if they lose in championship, all right, we got to trade James Harden. Oh, okay, we got to trade Kyrie Irving. No, you made the championship in your first year with all the problems that they are going through.
You might not say James Harden, but you might say I might trade Kyrie. You might say I might trade somebody to make some type of change, because
they have to do pretty bad in the championship. But to go to the championship, I don't think you necessarily consider it a bust after that. You're like, all right, with all the problems we're going through, Kyrie Irving going through this thing this year, James Harden, he being traded, first time on this new team where he's not the man. It's not all about him dribbling the ball and he orchestrating the whole team. I think that might come a little later, like, all right, cool, with the adjustment. And like I said, he's been on the Rockets controlling that for a while.
So my question for you is this, man. Do you think KD thinks it's championship or bust, or you think he's like, oh, okay, we got to settle in the first year?
I think he's thinking that right now. I think he's thinking championship or bust. Of course, yeah.
Okay. And I'm happy you said that, Alex, because really all of the other stuff that you're talking about is just an excuse and a way to take pressure off of yourself. That's all it is. Not necessarily off you. You're not. But as far as the Nets are concerned, that's just a way for you to be like, just like Steve Nash didn't say it was championship or bust. He's like, oh yeah, we want to set our goals high, blah, 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 blah. All that's a way to do is just to take the pressure off of yourself.
Nope. This is what I think about that. When the Lakers first got Anthony Davis, they got him at the beginning of the season. They had that plotted going, okay, AD coming into the Lakers, starting a new season. Now it's all been put together. Now that team is being orchestrated. That's where it became championship or bust. We're 11 games in or whatever, and James Harden just been out here chilling, been at the parties. He ain't been no training camp. This hasn't already been planned that the team is going to be like this. So it takes a little bit of adjustment. They don't have the
not James Harden. The goal was already a champ. Listen, bro, it was already championship or bust before James Harden came.
What?
It
No.
was for
No.
KD.
No, because you didn't know. We like I said, we didn't know how KD was going to come back. It was not a championship or bust. We're like, all right, let's see how KD plays. If he's 80%, then that's great. But we don't even know. We didn't know what he was going to be doing when the season started. He's coming off the Achilles injury, so it's not a championship or bust. No.
Okay. I said I overstep. I'll reach with that one. Okay, it wasn't championship or bust before James Harden got there, but it was definitely go to the championship or bust at minimum. So now that you have James Harden, it's got to be championship or bust. Like like I said, all of the rest of the stuff is just excuses. It's just a way to take pressure off. Oh, well, this didn't happen, and we did this, and blah 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 blah. Listen, all the rest of that stuff is just a great way for you to say, we wasn't trying to win it this year anyway.
They need to be in the championship. They need to be in the championship.
Yeah, they do. And the goal needs to be to win it. If you're going to get there and act like that's not your goal, then just
act like the Lakers is not the deepest team in the NBA. Let's not act like that happened, that they just come off a championship. Guys got way more confidence now. Let's not act like that. So it's not like, oh, they just got to win a championship because they got some stars on the team. The Lakers got some stars on their team too. No, they don't have.
And the Lakers are my favorite to win it. I'm just saying, if you're in the Nets organization, you're
that's a feeling. That's not an excuse. See, your excuse. They got to win a championship.
No, that is an excuse. That's just a way to take pressure off.
That's your excuse. Saying they got to win a championship or a bust to take pressure off the Lakers if they lose.
You're taking no pressure off the Lakers. It's the same thing. It can be more than one team with the goal of championship or bust in the league at once. I think it's a couple of teams that's like championship or bust.
Well, Lakers
and the Nets are one, and the Lakers are for sure one. I think the Clippers would be in that same category too. Like, it's championship or bust, bro. That's what it is now. Like, even when Kawhi went to the Raptors, like, that's what it is. It's championship or bust. That's the way the whole honestly works. We want it now. Like, we need it now.
Wait. Okay. Now, I agree with a little bit with the Clippers being championship or bust. So are you saying the Lakers are championship or bust?
Lakers are championship or bust for sure. If they don't get a championship.
The Raptors was never a championship or bust.
When the Kawhi went there, it was. When Kawhi went there,
he won the championship, but he still bounced.
And that's why it was definitely championship or bust, because you had 1 year with him. That's exactly.
Championship.
So you make my point, Chris. That's exactly why it was championship or bust.
You were gonna go and win a championship when Kawhi first got there. You thought that?
No, that's what the organization thought, which they did. So they didn't bust. They got the championship. And this is why it was championship or bust for them, because they already knew this is a gamble. When they made the trade, they made a huge gamble because he had 1 year left on his contract. They didn't know if he was going to stay, and they knew they were going to have to basically try to woo him into staying, which didn't happen. And winning the championship was a huge part of that. They won, so they didn't bust, but they still lost Kawhi. But at least they won. That's why it was definitely championship or bust. You took a 1 year gamble with a superstar, and you won. Championship or bust. It happens all the time. It's way more common now in the NBA than it ever was, and really across all sports. That's why you see coaches getting fired left and right, trades happening left or right. That's why you got Harden up on the screen talking about this team is just not talented enough. When you got John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, and Christian Wood. Like, this team that you're on now is way more talented, but to say that's not talented just speaks to the fact that guys are trying to win right now. Organizations trying to win right now. That's just how it is, man. Championship or bust. That's like when you go play in the tournament. What you trying to do?
Yeah, but you know what?
No. I want to know. When you go play in the tournament, Chris, what you trying to do? When we went to China, what was it? We wasn't trying to come back with third place, was we? Championship or bust, bro. Everybody
I wasn't paid to be there, Bobby. I wouldn't. If I had $133 million contract, I'd be like, all right,
guys. That's really why it's championship or bust, because we didn't win, nobody got paid.
So that's so everybody's not. Hey, I'm not bust. My contract is I'm still getting paid. I'm still getting paid at the day. So it might not be a bust. I'm still gonna be happy at the end of the day. I'm Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm glad I signed that 5-year multi mega contract, that super max contract, because he's not going to the championship now.
Oh, you say he definitely not coming out the East, huh?
No. I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to have to go. I said it last year that The Bucks should have went and got Devin Booker. They should have went and got Devin Booker. And they didn't. They got a point guard. Drew Holiday's nice, but they need a person who can put up 50 that's not Giannis. Because that levels out the playing field, but they didn't. So I'm glad he got his money because his window just closed.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next topic. So we just talked a lot about the Brooklyn Nets. We have to at least speak on Kyrie Irving. He was spotted on a Zoom call for a fundraiser for a district attorney. And obviously he hasn't been present for the Nets period, right? He's been kind of AWOL. People don't really know exactly what's going on according to reports. So as far as Kyrie Irving is concerned, like, how do you see this playing out? Like, how should the Nets handle this moving forward?
Well, I really think that the Nets need to sign Uncle Drew. No, I'm joking. No, man, I think it's all like, I think it's gonna blow over. Everyone getting mad in their feelings right now, but the Nets orchestrated something that's crazy. I think Kyrie Irving's gonna come back to work now. As you're seeing right now, the players do run this league. You know, I mean, we've been doing that for years. Just how James Harden forced his way out of Houston after all that Houston's done for them, pay him millions and millions of dollars, and had so many roster changes, and then he forces his way out. Kyrie Irving, you know, like, he does what he wants to do. You know, and when you're a good basketball player, or when you're a good athlete, a lot of times you can do what you want to do. If you're that good, they're gonna allow you to do that. Just think about when Dennis Rodman, right? You know, we watched The Last Dance this past summer. Right. Dennis Rodman needed to get away. Phil Jackson, like, look, I know I need Dennis Rodman. So you go do what you got to do, but when you get back here, we're gonna have to work. And they let that happen. What happened? The Bulls go on to win the championship. You gotta let people do what they do, and even though it may not seem professional, he has a certain level, you know, as a player, where you know how much of an asset he really is and how clutch he can be in those times. So, you know, even though I don't think it's the most professional way, but when you're a star, you got that star treatment, because anybody else who's not a star is out of there. But you know how valuable the guy is, so you just have to. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. It comes down to tolerability, right? It comes down to how good a player is versus what you are willing to tolerate from that player. And Kyrie's tolerability, because he's so good, his talent is here. So your tolerability for it is here. If he wasn't producing it, because when he gets on the court, I mean, the guy's a superstar. Like, that's not a question.
Can't say anything.
Yeah, it's not a question. He's embarrassing people, you know, making all type of crazy moves, just a walking highlight, really, and definitely a walking bucket. So you got to have him on the court. So I think with the Nets, they have to be patient. They have to not allow the media to
because
get
the media is trying to destroy everything.
Yeah, because the media will, you know, and we're on this talk show right now, so we're kind of like a part of that. We're a part of that right now.
I'm in favor of whatever he's doing. I'm like, hey, look, that's his business. I'm not on the side of he should retire or things like that.
I'm not going to say that now. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say I'm in favor of what he's doing. I don't know personally what he's doing. What I'm not in favor of, from what I understand, is how he's handling the situation, right? Like, let's go backwards, right? At the beginning, when Steve Nash was first hired, he said, oh, we don't even have a coach. Like, okay, like, all right. I'm not going to dive too much into that, but from a player perspective, to coach like that, that's a little bit disrespectful. But whatever, they're all NBA players. They have played. Maybe they have their brotherhood. Maybe he was alluding to something that I don't maybe understand. But in my opinion, that part of it was disrespectful. Now you have him not showing up to work, because at the end of the day, like you said, you get paid millions of dollars to be there. This is your job. There's no other really job that you can just say, oh, every time something happens in the world, like, depending on how I feel, I might not show up. Like, that's the part I don't really agree with, like how he's handling it, to message your team first versus message your coach or the entire organization. Like, I think that's something from a professional standpoint you owe. Now, I do think those are things people forget how young Kyrie is. Like, I still think he's going through a maturation phase where he's still trying to like learn himself and be all those things that LeBron is or that KD is, and a lot of other players that are older than him is. So I think he still has that learning to do. So the Nets just need to be patient, not let the media get into their head where they start thinking that Kyrie is such an issue they have to get rid of him. I mean, so that's what I think the Nets should do with it. Just kind of play it slow, man. Take your time because you really need them when playoffs roll around. Like you said, if they get in the first seed or the eighth seed, especially with this team, it's going to be tougher, but it's not going to really matter. Like they should still come out regardless.
I don't know why I popped out.
You said what?
I said, I don't know why it X'd me out. My bar is still there.
Okay, yeah, I can still see. I think we still good. I think the video just went out for a second.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they should just take their time, man. Take their time, not rush it. Don't do anything drastic. Just take your time, man. Let Kyrie go through what he's going through. You got KD and James Harden to carry the ship while he's not there.
I think it's a lot of publicity just coming towards Brooklyn way because now while we're talking about this, we're talking so much about Brooklyn. We talk so much right now. We're talking so much about Brooklyn. We're talking about the trade. We're talking about James Harden, and Kyrie Irving not being there. All the comments that Kyrie said, like how I can trust. I've always been a person who trusted myself to take the last shot. Now I got another person. Like all that is going all back to Brooklyn. It's all going back to Brooklyn. And all it's doing is taking the attention off the Lakers, who are the prohibitive favorites to win. But now we're not talking so much about LeBron because it just looks so easy for them right now. So when it's looking so easy, you kind of just like not talking about it, and I think it's bringing that attention over here to Brooklyn. And now we want to watch every game. It's some games, I'm not even gonna lie. It's some games when the Lakers are playing. I'm like, I'm not watching that game. I'm not gonna watch the Lakers versus the Grizzlies. I'm not gonna watch the Lakers versus Sacramento. I'm not, because it's gonna be blowout.
We'll watch. So, you said nobody's talking about LeBron anymore. I'm gonna tell you, you are
not as much. I remember. Like, I mean, LeBron just been doing this for so long, and it's like, all right, it looks easy. They got a well-oiled machine. They're favorite. It's not the Showtime basketball like the Warriors were at one point. Even though Warriors were always good because you're looking at what Steph Curry was doing, it was always some attention being brought to them. Right now, the Lakers just look like, hey, look, this is just what it is, and I personally feel bad for them because it's like, well, you're so good. Some games I'm not going to be as interested in. I can watch some games. I'm like, man, LeBron really just chilling out there. It's not like he really working too hard for this win because the team is so good that LeBron's playing the least amount of minutes he's played in his whole career, like 32 minutes or something like that. He's really chilling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even though it's great for him in his career, they got a team that's a well-oiled machine. Now we have to talk a lot about Brooklyn. Brooklyn, what's KD going to do? What's Kyrie going to do? What's James Harden going to do? All the attention being shifted over there. So sometimes any attention like that is good attention, because you're going to bring more eyes to your game and then you get to show out.
Okay. So you taking the motto of all publicity is good publicity at this point for the Nets.
I mean, you got KD who's going to clap back with you on Twitter. You got Kyrie, world flat, and I want to be on social justice, which is fine. And James Harden, who's like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry.
Chicken wings at the strip club.
A lot of narratives going on.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I was just thinking about it the other day. Like, actually, even on this show, we haven't talked much about the Lakers, right? And right now, they are truly coasting. Like, I think statistically, this will probably be one of LeBron's like lowest years statistically, like per game, not per 48 minutes. Per 48 minutes, his stats will probably be crazy. But he is playing the lowest amount of minutes of his career. They're winning the games so quickly that it's like he doesn't even have to play come fourth quarter. Exactly. Very similar to how Giannis won his MVP last year, but I can almost assure you, I would highly doubt if they give LeBron an MVP again this year. So it'll probably go back to somebody else. But maybe if they have the best record, you kind of have no choice based on how they've been doing it.
They already kind of created that narrative right now. Like, they gave it to Giannis twice. LeBron is really coasting. So he's not going to have the numbers that he usually has. Now he's going to win these big games because he's going to be more rested than ever. But they've already low key kind of, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but they're creating this narrative around Joel Embiid. The Sixers are doing pretty well. Joel Embiid been doing really well. He's been scoring a lot of points. And now they're talking more about Joel Embiid in that MVP category. And I think it's going to stay there for a while. It's going to be tough, you know what I'm saying? Like, because he's the one leading that team. Ben Simmons doing good, but not to Joel Embiid's level. So we're already kind of not talking about Giannis as much. Even though Giannis going to do what he's going to do, we're not going to talk about him in the MVP category because we know what it is. We know what the result's going to be come playoff time and things like that. So look for Joel Embiid to be an MVP category and low key Jason Tatum.
That's crazy because Joel Embiid is on our topic list for today. So Joel Embiid, 2-0, he scored 35 of the 76ers, 45 points in the second half and overtime, looking like hitting them with everything that you could think of, whether it be threes, Euro steps to the basket, dunking on people, like just really looking like what we always expected Joel Embiid to be. He looks to be in a lot better shape. He looks really slim. More similar, I think, to his college form as far as how slim he is than his years in the NBA where he was eating burgers before the game. So I think Joel Embiid, I picked the 76ers to be my sleeper team this year. They're looking good. I'm happy that they didn't trade Ben Simmons for James Harden because I really like that pair. And yeah, I think Joel Embiid, I don't know if he'll be the MVP, but I could see how, it is a case to be made for him to be MVP because if he's not on that team, for a fact they're a lottery team. I think I don't see them being the playoff team if they are, they're at the bottom.
Right.
So right. I could definitely see that. So with that said, so you have the 76ers, you have Joel Embiid. Obviously you picked the Nets to come out the East. So where do you see them finishing at, the 76ers?
I would say Eastern Conference Championship. Like I would see them getting there. They're really looking good. I mean, they've been playing together for a while. I love the Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. Like that's a three-headed monster within itself.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I would see, if it came down to it, I would see them going against the Nets in the Eastern Conference, and I still think it'll be matchup issues. Like Joel Embiid can do his thing, but he does take a lot of mid-range and three-pointers and things like that.
Like he stopped doing that as much this year.
This year, but a lot of times when Joel gets tired, he settles for those jump shots.
Right.
But that's why he's in the MVP category right now, because he's been more dominant inside. But when you have a player like DeAndre Jordan who can probably not contain him, but at the same time maybe hold him to a certain amount of points and tire him out a little bit inside, he's not just going in there dunking on DeAndre Jordan. Then now that becomes a matchup issue once you talk about who's going to be guarding KD, who's going to be guarding James Harden, and that's where the Nets will go overtake the Sixers. So I see them in Eastern Conference, and I actually see them having the best record in the East.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm on definitely the same page. I think that they should finish with the best record in the East, or the Bucks, one of those two. But the Bucks, they started off in a slump. They could easily go on a string of games, win 20 in a row. Who knows? I feel like every year some team goes on like a crazy streak where they win some crazy amount of games in a year. If it will happen this season with all of the COVID stuff and the mix up with the schedules and all of the games getting canceled, who knows? I really don't. But with that said, let's talk a little bit about it. So you have all of the COVID 19 has been going on obviously across the whole entire world. And in the NBA, we had the bubble last year to go into the playoffs, and now this year, not the bubble, right? Teams have been traveling. A lot of games have been postponed. So how do you see the NBA moving forward and trying to handle this COVID with the 72-game season?
I was thinking about that the other day, and I didn't really have an answer. I'm like, what do you do? Because you can't create this bubble, with all these teams in different states and all the traveling they're doing. It's hard to create one bubble, and we're going to keep them away from everybody, from like their own families and things like that. But I seen a quote from Aaron Gordon the other day. I'm not sure if you saw it, but he said, yeah, it's getting kind of raggedy, because guys playing here, playing there, got to sit out 5 days and miss a few games. He said he wouldn't be opposed to they creating another bubble, but having this bubble in Hawaii or the Bahamas, somewhere nice and warm, and they're able to bring like their immediate families.
Right.
I think that's a good idea because one, no one's in school, so you go there, you create this bubble, you don't have to worry about everyone having a mask because everyone's been tested, no one's coming into this area, and you do what you do from there. Um, I think that's a good idea, for the players right now because granted, the worst case scenario you're gonna have is if we get to a championship game and someone tests positive, and now you're like, do we postpone the game because a key player in the championship or the playoffs or maybe just the championship game, maybe an important game, a game 7, a game 6, a closeout game, and someone can't play for 5-6 days, and now that determined who won that game based on situations. And so at least in the bubble, everything seemed fair, and there was no one catching cases. So at least all these games. So when the Lakers won, they won fair and square.
Right.
You can't help an injury and nothing like that. But when someone's like, all right, well, I tested positive and I have to sit out, it can affect the entire season. And I think I would hate for that to happen and it put an asterisk on someone's name because of that situation. So I think they should go somewhere, make a bubble, and just take the families with them. It's really not a lot of people either. When you think about that, I mean, we're talking about maybe 1,000 people. How many people you have on different resorts? You have thousands, and so
Right. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. We're on the same page. I think that if you look at kind of like how the Olympics is, right? They have a campus when the Olympics go on. All of the athletes from all around the world come and stay on this campus and to compete in many Olympic games during the Olympics. So I think you have to adopt like that concept, apply the bubble to it. And you could do a location like you were just in where Orlando. You could do a location like that. You could do a Hawaii. Definitely somewhere where the players it's a beautiful space. They still are able to enjoy themselves. Bring your immediate family, like you said, whoever's living in your household, the kids, and go ahead and just do it. I don't think that the 72 game season is really plausible. I think they should look into cutting that down and reformatting it if they do a bubble, and just trying to get through the season as quickly and safely as possible, right? Like the 72 games is more so for, all right, yeah, let's make it fair and blah, 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 blah. Let's try to make some extra money. But realistically, you kind of have to go basically pool play, playoffs, championship. That's how I see it.
I definitely agree. Like I said, and then you have players who are like not disciplined, not gonna. I mean, think about like last year in the bubble, we had Daniel House breaking bubble rules. So, and then he had to sit out in a game because he wasn't being disciplined, right? Remember Houston?
Right.
Daniel House, he broke one of COVID rules or whatever, had someone in his room. Just imagine what players are doing today. Like I said, we already caught James Harden at a party. We got Kyrie Irving was at a party. I mean, and you're going to feel like obligated, even though you may not like necessarily want to. But when you're around your family and they say, "Hey, well, it's Kyrie Irving, and hey, it's your sister's birthday,"
right?
You're gonna go. You're gonna go, okay, I have to make my way there, and you're Kyrie Irving. People are gonna take pictures. This is gonna happen.
Yeah, that right there though is like you can't control that to an extent. Like I get it, you're Kyrie, but you can definitely say like, hey, no cell phones, no pictures. Now, if somebody's sneaking and doing it, cool, but you could obviously tell that was not something that was said. Everybody in their mom was in the whole thing just like this.
For sure. And I think that's one thing Kyrie Irving's created. I think he wanted that to be seen, just like James Harden wanted that to be seen. But just imagine some of the players that are actually out, even if they don't want to be seen, but they're out. They're out. Their cousins, their friends are saying, "Hey man, I'm doing this," and you're like, "I want to be there for my friend. I'm gonna go." Yeah, maybe it's no cameras, but at the same time, they're exposing themselves, in a way where it's like, "Hey, look, I can contract this virus, and now I'm bringing it back to my team." And so when you get this bubble, it forces them not to be in that type of situation where they feel obligated to go do that. And so that's what the bubble did. Even though they may not have liked it, I think they would like it a lot more having their families there. And yeah, I mean, that's just my take on it.
Yeah, we're on the same page as far as that. All right, cool. So we got this is our last topic of the day. We always finish up. We have our game of the week.
1 second. I'm about to grab that out the oven real quick.
All right. You said 9:28. It's 9:22.
Hey, I smell it.
What's this? The Stofers?
Yup.
It's 9:30 in the morning. This bro eating lasagna. Lasagna at 9:30 in the morning?
Yeah, I ain't eat last night, so I need to get something heavy this morning.
He said, I need the lasagna early. So look, we finish up with our game of the week. And this is one game we pray to God doesn't get canceled. It is Zion versus LeBron. So that's this Friday. I can't wait. I'm super excited. Who you taking?
What you mean I'm taking Zion? Zion do. He make his dunk and he do like this. I mean, his arm be like up here, but you know what I'm saying? But you know Zion, he get the N1, he like this. Like, it's different, So I gotta go with Zion, man.
You going with Zion? All right.
I mean, I ain't going with LeBron, but
Yeah, you making the fun pick.
I'm definitely making a fun pick. I think Brandon Ingram about to go off. Brandon Ingram, he's gonna go crazy. Zion in the paint.
Don't say too much. Don't set yourself up to get killed next episode.
I like the matchup. I actually like the matchup. I like Steven Adams in the post. That's a big man. Even though he probably gonna get torched by Anthony Davis. It ain't gonna be too many bodies being thrown around there. And Montrez gonna have a hard time guarding Zion. He's gonna have a hard time. Zion's just a big guy. I feel like LeBron's bigger than Montrez, to be honest with you. So, I mean, but then after that, I have LeBron and I'm gonna go off. So, but it's gonna be fun to watch. I just want to see Zion win. Honestly, I really, if I'm being honest with you, like, it's not a chance. It's not a chance for them to really win, but I want to see them win. So
yeah, I'm going to
have a great game.
I'm going to make a case for the Pelicans, even though we both I want the Lakers to win, right? I'm gonna make a case to the Pelicans for you, right? Okay. Maybe they get up for this game. Like they're like, all right, you have Lonzo and Ingram. They used to play for the Lakers, so maybe they have some little rivalry or spike there. Like, oh, you replace LeBron with us. Like, nah, like we should still be there. So maybe they have some animosity or something built up that might take them to some superstar crazy level today. And then of course you have Zion, right? He's guaranteed 20 points, 10 rebounds. That's almost guaranteed. And definitely a dunk or two. So more than anything, I think it's an exciting game, right? And I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I'm picking the Lakers, obviously. I'm picking the Lakers, but I want to make a case for how the Pelicans could win, all right? How they could win.
Yeah, I think Brandon Ingram it's gonna come down to Brandon Ingram going crazy. Like you said, having that little chip on his shoulder during the game, he gotta have at least 30. He gotta have at least 30.
And Lonzo, this is your chance since LaMelo showed you up the last time. You haven't been in any, and the media hasn't been talking about you, bro. They only been talking about Melo.
Man, that's the thing. You don't want the media to go away from talking about you.
Yeah, you don't.
Everybody making sure that. Okay, that's the only person we be talking about. The only person we talk about, Kyrie Irving and James Harden.
That's why I was telling somebody this yesterday. I was like, you got to understand, Kyrie Irving and KD literally have figured out how to play games with the media, how to literally make the media talk about them all the time. Like they're a part of it. As much as they act like they hate the media.
I feel like they work for ESPN.
Yeah, like they have. Kyrie Irving got his own podcast. Like KD does his own. He has his own media company, right, or agency. Like, come on, bro. Like,
I know Kevin Durant. I feel like he works for ESPN. I feel like he sits at home and you're like, let's throw a tweet out here real quick. And then he just walks away. And then he's like, yep, we good.
He just laughs.
Yeah, I feel like he does that. Like, I don't think he really, really cares. It's just like, you know what? If I talk, everybody gonna talk about this topic.
I mean, honestly, you can make a huge case for KD right now. It's like if it's ever a time to have a bunch of burner accounts, it's now. You can't do anything. You can't do anything except for hoop and go home. So when you're at home, you might as well be on Twitter just saying stuff for fun. Like, who cares? There's nothing else to do.
Right. If I'm KD, I ain't burning it. I'm saying it.
You said if you,
it's gonna be from KD account, KD trade.
Sometimes he does get on there, I think, and just burn people.
He do.
But yeah, so that's it, guys. I'm Bobby Champion. This is Facts Over Feelings.
I'm Chris Staples. Tell Bobby get out his feelings because Chris is always bringing these facts. Always bringing these facts.
All right, y'all. Make sure you hit the comments below. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. And we're going to get at y'all real soon. We out.
Peace.
Stack the money, make it multiply. Yellow, white, gold, can't decide. Came to conquer, we don't divide. I'm a king, do it for the pride. Up in the